Hey, and welcome back to the channel. The first video wasn't a complete disaster, so I thought we'd give it another shot today. This one's just simple getting ready for the next season, getting your traps ready, trap preparation I guess you call it, and hopefully help somebody else out, so stay tuned. Alright, now let's get started. I'm a 63-year-old man, almost 64, and the older I get, the better my forgetter works. So, some of you will know what I mean by that. So what I do is I make a checklist of the things I need to do to all of my traps. The idea is not to forget anything because you could get in trouble with the law, and you don't want that. So the first thing on the checklist is to check your state laws to make sure that each of your traps is set up accordingly. For example, New Hampshire requires on the chain that you only have a swivel at the base plate, 3 links, and another swivel. That's it. That's the law in New Hampshire. I don't know if it is anywhere else, but it is there. Another thing is, in Georgia and most states, you have to have your name and other information on a tag on that trap. You don't want to forget that. In Georgia, you need your name and trapper number, or name and the town in which you live. But that's Georgia. Other states are different. Some want the whole address and a telephone number. So just be sure and check your state laws. All right, next thing on the checklist is to insert nails between the jaws. And I've done that to these. There's just an 8-penny nail. And the reason for that is so it'll hold those jaws open so that when you clean them, when you spray them off, you'll get water down inside. When you paint them, you'll get paint in between the jaws, and so forth. You get the idea. These are closed jaw traps, as you can see, or I hope you can see anyway. On offsets, you'll have to put the nail over here on the side, outside of the offset. Otherwise, it won't hold it open far enough. Okay, so that's it as far as that goes. Next step is to wash your traps. I normally would use my pressure washer, but I just tried it and it won't start. So instead of tinkering on that tonight, I'm going to go ahead and do what I can without it. I'm just going to go ahead and wash them with a regular hose. They're not all that dirty anyway. These traps aren't. These are MB450s, by the way. Very good trap. Let me get the water turned on. You don't have to get them super clean, just knock the dirt off, any debris that's in there, knock that out. That one right there is kind of rusted, but we're going to take care of that in the next step. Don't forget the chain. These are all set up on drags, by the way. I have 550s, MB 550s that are set up on regular anchors. I'm changing over to chain anchors on those because I noticed that some of my cable anchors were fraying, and I lost a couple of coyotes that way last year. So this year I'm going to chain. but that's personal preference. Alright, that should be good enough. Alright, so the next step is to determine which ones of these need to be dipped in a vinegar water solution. It's half and half vinegar and half water, and you let them sit there for 24 hours or as close to it as you can get. And after that, you just go ahead and neutralize that with baking soda and water, and they come out looking pretty darn good. I've got a couple of them that I already did last night, so we'll pull them up and show you what they look like when they come out. I know you can't see me, so I'll drag these over where you can. Put a fair amount of chain on my drags, 12 or 13 feet as a matter of fact. And the reason for that is I don't want to have to chase a coyote about half a mile. You put a long chain on them and they'll fetch up quick. What it does is it keeps the chain and the drag down low on the ground. Alright, there's one. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you what I do next. Basically just wash them off again. And when I do any loose paint or any rust or anything like that, it gets knocked right off. So let me turn the water back on. Alright, let me take this over where you can get a look at it. Look at that chain, how clean that comes out. It's not perfectly clean, but that's definitely good enough so we can paint it later. The trap wasn't all that bad to begin with. Notice my tag on here. Let's turn the water off. So you notice the process. take it out of the 50-50 mixture and go ahead and put it in the baking soda and water to neutralize the vinegar. And then just simply wash it off and you're ready to paint them. Alright, I've hung those others up that I just got done. We'll let them dry overnight and then we'll continue on with the checklist. But for tonight, I just want to continue on to let you guys know how I set mine all up. The next thing I do after they dry is I check all my swivels. Make sure these swivels turn freely. You might say that's kind of trivial, and maybe it is, but let one bind up and watch your coyote take off on you. They'll do it. They'll bite down on these. They're not actually going for that, but they will. They'll bite down on that and it'll bind up where it won't turn and you'll lose your coyote. So make sure you check these. Again, this is on a drag, so I got 2 up here. There's another one down on the drag itself. Like I said, I got 12 or 13 feet of chain there, so maybe that's overkill. I don't care. At least I don't have to chase coyotes for a mile. And your last swivel down here, make sure that they swivel good. And the next thing is, if you've got a cable stake, this is a cable stake, and this gets driven down in the ground, in case you don't know. This is hooked into your swivel up here, and it's put together by a cable. The problem is with these cables is if you don't check, they fray right in here. Well, they can fray anywhere. See, that one's starting to fray. That one right there you'll see is beginning to fray. So you don't want that to fray because you'll lose a coyote that way. I lost 2 of them last year because of that. They just pulled and it left the stake itself, the super stake, down in the ground. I never did find it. So this year I'm going to all chain. We'll see how that works out. But if you've got cable, there's nothing wrong with it. Just make sure you keep a good close eye on it. Next thing is ensure that there is at least 1 tag on every trap. Mine's wrapped around there, around that swivel. Some of them I got 2 tags on because coyotes will tear those up too. Okay, so make sure they're there. That's law. You don't want to be outside the law and have to pay a big fine. There's no money in trapping as it is, so you don't want to have to pay more. Then you would paint your traps, okay, and leave them to dry. I usually leave them a couple of weeks and let them dry, and then dip them. I use Zepp's high traffic floor polish. It's the exact same thing as Full Metal Jacket, only Full Metal Jacket will cost you almost twice as much. Okay, and then the last thing you want to do is after you let them dry for a couple of days, after you dip them, next thing you do is check the pan tension. Don't do the pan tension before. It'll knock it off. It won't be exactly right. So you want to go ahead and let them dry, and then all you do is set the trap. Like I said, this is MB450. I got the night latch. Hear it? It's set. And when you're checking the tension, you want to make sure that the trap pan is level. And this one's good and level. Next thing I do is I check with the tension. Should be right around 1.5 pounds. 1 3/4 maybe. Close enough. When this is dipped and dried, it may be down to 1.5 pounds. That'll take a fox and it'll take a coyote. And these will hold a coyote. They'll hold the meanest coyote in the country. They're a good, solid trap. That's my checklist. That's what I do to my traps. If anybody can think of anything else, be sure and leave a comment below and help somebody out. Okay. A lot of people change their springs every other year. I don't see the need. I've never lost one. Springs are not what hold a coyote, or a fox for that matter. There's a combination of things, but the biggest thing is lockup. These levers have to come up far enough to lock so that when he lunges and pulls against it, the jaws just lock on and they won't let go. And these are well made enough that he's not going to get them apart. I don't care how big he is. Well, I hope you get something out of it. If you liked it, go ahead and hit the like button. If you feel like it, go ahead and subscribe. I'll try to get some of these videos out to you, and I hope somebody's helped by them. I sure wish I had YouTube around when I was learning. Would have made that learning curve a lot shallower, but hey, it is what it is. So, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.